If you love football, soccer, then you probably love the Apple TV hit comedy Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso, a quirky, soccer-naive American coach, finds his way to England where he comes in to manage a fictitious but struggling Premier League side, AFC Richmond. Hello everyone, this is Rev Brad, and you're listening to the Soccer Chaplains United podcast, From the Touchline. With 20 plus years in and around the beautiful game, both as a chaplain and a press officer before that, I thought I would share in this series some lessons from Ted Lasso. Essentially give a chaplain's perspective on some of the things we see on the show and mesh them up with my own experience. In this series, I'm going to try not to over-spiritualize what we see on the screen, but I do want to comment on some of the elements that I believe can be great points of personal and professional development, no matter your role or relationship with soccer. Whether you're an athlete, a coach, a staffer, or an executive with the beautiful game, I think this series will be fun, creative, and have a little bit of everything for everyone. Just a side note, whilst I've changed this opener from the original one, I will keep the opener for a little while, so if you're listening regularly, when you hear the Ted Lasso theme music at the start of the pod, you can go ahead and skip forward to the 2-minute mark to skip the intro and get right into the pod for the day. Thank you for listening to the From the Touchline podcast. Here we go with a lesson from Ted Lasso.
He's found the space and he's found the back of the net.
Just a little off foot, thinking he's going to go far post. Not strong enough with his right hand.
Whips that one in. Far post, almost made him ends, and they have. He has the hat-trick. The second in his career. The third of the night. The hat-trick hero.
Talked about you're not going to be able to sustain that kind of pressure.
To the corner. Goes towards the near post. And you're the angle, and what a goal! What a goal!
Today's lesson from Lasso, lesson 14 overall, found in episode 2, takes me back to my childhood. For a number of years, I grew up with my family being assisted with government-issued food stamps, and I would remember my mom fumbling at times at the grocery store with a booklet at the checkout line. Every once in a while, a kind of stranger would offer to help pay or cover where we were short, and money was tight. Of course, as a kid, you don't realize these things, and the checkout lane at the supermarket back in my day was filled with all sorts of wonders for a child's eye to behold, and at just the right height, might I add. In those days, toys for me, my brother, were few and far between, but I remember bags of green plastic army men. The die-cast figures were in immovable poses, but there were hundreds of them in a bag and made for hours of boyhood play and creativity. Well, in episode 2, we see Coach Lasso carrying around a brown box, opened, but we can tell it's been mailed. He walks into owner Rebecca's office after an especially difficult press conference where she was ambushed by a reporter about her ex-husband's ongoing dalliances. Lasso rummages through the care package sent by his little boy, and he pulls out one of the green army men and gives one to Rebecca, just in case that reporter comes back. You know, we know this world is difficult and full of trouble. And there's something inside of each of us that desires to feel safe, to be secure, to have protection. I think that this sense and feeling is especially more pronounced the more vulnerable one is, or the more vulnerable one feels. Women, children, even myself as a father of 4 daughters, I think and feel differently about the world now than I did as a single young man at the age of 25. Think back to your own childhood. You might have to call up mom or dad. Was there a blanket that you clung to as a child, maybe a favorite stuffed animal that went with you wherever you went? Maybe you had an invisible friend that you could talk to. You know, when we get older, security looks different. We lock our doors. We have security systems protecting our cars, our homes. We protect with cameras and apps and alarms. But deep down inside, we can have the top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art devices and first-world security and protection. But does any of it guarantee our sense of well-being and peace? Jesus knew about these kinds of things. The night before his betrayal, arrest, and trumped-up trial and crucifixion, he gets done sharing with his friends some truly heartfelt and deep things about himself, the world, and what's about to happen. And he comes to the end of sharing, and right before he prays for his best friends, he says, "I've told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world." Friend, you and I can take many different steps to try and secure a sense of peace for our lives. Placing green army men may be the least of these things, but a true reality and sense of peace can only come from Jesus. The Apostle Paul, when he writes to Christians in the city of Philippi, gets at this. Philippi was essentially a prosperous retirement community for Rome. Many who had served in the Roman military had retired there, and they really had a sense of peace and trust that they placed in the Pax Romana, the peace of Rome, and in their status and wealth. To this end, Paul writes about the anxiety that was being felt amongst Christians, and he talks about the peace of God, which, quote, transcends all understanding and will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. You can find that in Philippians 4:8. Well, AFC Richmond owner Rebecca Welton, formerly Mannion, might find some comfort from the gesture of Ted Lasso leaving the little green army man pointing toward the door to her office, but I can tell you, no truer sense of peace, the heart and mind guarding beyond comprehension type, can be found outside of Jesus himself. Well, thanks for listening to this lesson from Ted Lasso. This is Rev Brad coming to you from the Touchline.